Welcome to Light Novel Sound, where we bring stories to life. Get ready for an epic journey through Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint, a story filled with action, mystery, and mind-blowing twists. A huge thank you to Sing-Shong for crafting this incredible story. If you enjoy this audiobook, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Now, sit back, relax, and let's begin. Chapter 26. Episode 6, Judgment Time, 4. A few minutes later, I once again entered Dongdae Station and ate a ground rat. It was in order to heal the skin contaminated by the poisonous fog. It took a little time, but the contamination could be recovered by eating the meat of an underground species. Hey! Are you crazy? What did you do just now? I was eating when I heard Bi-hyung's voice furiously berating me. Shut up. No, this isn't an issue you can dismiss. You destroyed a constellation's idol. Do you want to see my channel fail? Once the bald general of justice begins to talk. The idol of a constellation. Every world had their own constellations, South Korea as well. By the way, Bi-hyung said it was the bald general of justice. He was a great person in South Korea, but actually, I wasn't the type of person to say that. A constellation wearing a straw mat is furious at your atrocious actions. The constellation prisoner of the golden headband is laughing. There was a difference in the degree of all idols, but they had the power of a constellation sealed in them. If I released the seal of the idol in the right way, I could gain a certain amount of power, such as an item or skill that the constellation used in their lifetime. However, unlocking the seal took a long time and I wasn't sure if I could get the skill I wanted. I looked at ways of survival on my smartphone. But if it is sealed in the bronze statue of Samyeongdang, how did you get the skill? There is a saying that if you meet Buddha, kill Buddha. What? Don't tell me. Haha, I was just trying it out, but it is true. All the statues aren't just for worship. Hey! This jerk, you should watch your mouth. You might be cursed by the constellation. At the last gateway to enter Cheongmuro, the skill of Samyeongdang was essential. And the most surefire way to get the skill was to destroy the idol. Of course, I could buy something similar from the Dokkaebi bag, but the more coins I saved, the better. Then did you resolve the man's secret well? I quickly turned off my smartphone screen. My companions, including Jung Hee-won, had gathered. Yes. And I have something for you. I pulled out the items I gained from the idol. As luck would have it, the Samyeongdang idol contained items and skills. Samyeongdang's beads. Samyeongdang's straw mat. Rags and old beads. There were questions in the eyes of everyone present. I knew what they were thinking. But I also knew this. In this world, old was more likely to be good. They seem like good items. Because they are souvenirs of a great person. Great person? Do you know Samyeongdang? A constellation wearing a straw mat has paused at your actions. Jung Hee-won asked with a stupid expression. Who is that? A constellation wearing a straw mat wishes to appear before character Jung Hee-won. Ah, I know. Fortunately, someone knew. Needless to say, it was Yo-sanga. I remember seeing it when I was studying Korean history. Isn't he a monk from the Joseon dynasty? Yes, that's right. When the Korean military was struggling to defend against the Japanese invasion, he fought in the Nowangpyeong battle and Wakwandong battle. As expected from Yo-sanga. I also studied Korean history, but I didn't know this. A constellation wearing a straw mat is touched by character Yo-sanga. I nodded and said. Anyway, these items have his strength. Really? Wow, it is real. Jung Hee-won and Lee Hyun-sung were surprised when they confirmed the item information. But how did Dr. Sai know to get this? I put my hands together in front of the Samyeongdang statue and they fell from the sky. Here? No way. I thought it was ridiculous, but there was a reason people said such ridiculous words. I put on a mock solemn expression as I watched the party. I think it was sent by Samyeongdang for South Korea. Ah. there were filled with many meanings. I ignored them and kept talking. It wasn't like I was asking for them to listen. He might have left his belongings to save the country, just like during the Japanese invasion of South Korea. Anyway, now South Korea is a country undergoing turmoil. A constellation wearing a straw mat is moved by your words. In times of turmoil, scammers always gained power. In this strange world, it isn't weird if something like this happens. Maybe Samyongdang is one of the constellations. Isn't that right? Surprisingly, Yo Sanga seemed convinced first. Maybe she didn't want me to be embarrassed. The funny thing was that once Yo Sanga agreed, Lee Hyun-sung was immediately convinced. Indeed, Samyongdang. Lee Hyun-sung grew up with patriotism for a long time and looked like he was reminiscing on the principle of military service. Lee Gil-young also seemed curious. It was only Jung Hee-won who was watching me like it was nonsense. A constellation wearing a straw mat likes your revealing words. The constellation Bald General of Justice forgives your sins. Bi-hyun looked at the sky with a "is this okay?" expression before looking dumbfounded. The power of a constellation was directly linked to their fame. Thus, the constellations loved it when their stories were spread this way. Where was a constellation that hated being praised? I will give Samyongdang's beads to Yo Sanga, since you know him well. Really? Can I accept it? I think Samyongdang will be delighted if Samyongdang uses it. In fact, the performance of Samyongdang's beads wasn't good compared to what the sponsor used it for. It wasn't a sponsor's star relic, so maybe the fact that the Samyongdang wasn't a world-recognized figure had an effect. It was still a B-class item, so it had a secondary option of boosting magic power to increase magic power recovery. Jung Hee-won watched Yo Sanga like she was envious and said, "Yo Sanga knows a lot of things. I didn't know about Samyongdang because I didn't do very well at school." "Ah, that. I'm joking. Don't make such an expression." I spoke to the sulky Jung Hee-won. "I also have something for Jung Hyun-sai." "For me? Is it that straw mat?" "Yes." "It's okay. No matter how urgent, I don't want to wear such a thing. Just try it. You won't regret it." Jung Hee-won hesitated for a moment before throwing on the straw mat. She was trying to be fashionable, but she just looked like a beggar. A constellation who likes comradeship condemns your actions. A constellation who praises friendship likes your actions. It would be different if the star relics Samyongdang's bamboo stick and straw sandals came out, but the other two items weren't necessary for me right now. Jung Hee-won saw her reflection on the screen door of the subway and made a slightly complicated expression. "It is hard to explain, but I suddenly feel like I can harness the power of justice." Samyongdang's straw mat was an item that enhanced the justice and willpower of the incarnation. I didn't need it, but it was a pretty good item for Jung Hee-won. "You said Samyongdang? I feel sorry for some reason. I should study harder." The constellation Bald General of Justice is happy at this situation. 100 coins have been sponsored. I jokingly said. "Then let's put our hands together and pray." It was a joke, but Jung Hee-won really went to pray. Jung Hee-won was contaminated by the poisonous fog and spoke while eating a ground rat. "But who broke it? Surely it wasn't Dok Jasai?" "Dok Jasai? Be prepared. We will be at Chungmuro soon." I looked at the dark tunnel. It had been 20 minutes since Lee Gil-young used diverse communication, allowing them to safely move forward. Considering the fact that Dongdae to Chungmuro was 1 kilometer in a straight line, it was time for that to appear. A new sub-scenario has arrived. Indeed, as soon as I thought about it. Everybody step back. Sub-scenario, Welcome Prison. Category, Sub. Difficulty, D-F. Clear conditions, escape from Welcome Prison within the time limit. Time limit, 1 hour. Compensation, 300 coins. Failure? Sub-scenario, Welcome Prison has begun. Perhaps Yo Jong-hyuk had suffered quite a bit in this scenario. This scenario was one of the most painful traps for a regressor. Yo Sanga asked, "Welcome prison? What is this?" She would know without asking. "It is coming. Everyone, please keep your mind straight." Before my words were over, a haze overcame me. The fog that instantly occupied the tunnel blocked their field of view. The party members in the immediate vicinity couldn't be seen. When I looked around, I could only see a distorted scenery, as if I was on drugs. "Oh, I feel bad." Jung Hee-won screamed. Maybe Jung Hee-won was seeing something different from what I saw now. Dr. The voice I didn't want to hear. That forgotten voice was heard in a drug-like landscape. If I was this way, my other party members would be worse. Something feels strange. Dr. Sai. Are you there? Dr. Sai. Dr. Sai. In this distorted vision, the voices of my party members were gradually fading. Welcome prison. A space that led to madness by touching a person's trauma. Doctor, you didn't see anything. Understood? The landscape disappeared and the face of a person popped up. I smiled bitterly as I stared into the air. I wanted to deny reality. The exclusive skill, Fourth Wall, is activated. Due to the skill effect, immunity to welcome prison has occurred. The moment his mind relaxed, the uncomfortable feeling diminished. The constellation's secretive plotter admires your spirit. 100 coins have been sponsored. The curious constellations are sorry that they can't peek at your memories. As the power of welcome prison weakened, I felt a sense of alarm. Everyone, calm down and take deep breaths. Those trapped in welcome prison would lose their minds and unleash their madness around them. Thus, the most dangerous thing in welcome prison was the companions around you. Yo Jong-hyuk's solo behavior might be because he was worried about this prison. Soldier Lee Hyun-sung. Did you hear wrong? I was wrong. I was wrong, mother. This dog bastard. I was too late. I heard the screams of people filled with madness. But it wasn't everyone. Dr. Sai. At this moment, Yo Sangara's appearance was revealed in welcome prison. Samyongdang's beads around her wrist was glowing brightly. Fortunately, it worked. I approached Yo Sanga and said, "Cover the surroundings. From now on, I will destroy this space." Yo Sanga nodded with a nervous expression. The exclusive skill Destroy Evil LV1 is activated. Destroy Evil. It was one level higher than the Repel Evil skill that could be bought with coins. It was a skill that I obtained after breaking the bronze statue of Samyongdang. The exclusive skill Destroy Evil LV1 has turned off welcome prison. Indeed, it was a skill used by Samyongdang. If I had bought Repel Evil, it would have taken a minute to release it. Sururuk. As the fog retreated and welcome prison disappeared, his companions started to appear one by one. Oh, our resolve. We are the South Korean army, loyal to the nation and the people. Mother. The trauma could be seen with one glance. Lee Hyun-sung was bowing with his head on the ground, while Lee Gil-young had his head on his knees and was shaking. Yo Sanga came forward first. Lee Hyun-sung-sai? Gil-young, please wake up. At this moment, a blade flew from the rear. Fortunately, the blade wasn't fast and it wasn't difficult to avoid. I will kill all of you. Jung Hee-won was waving her sword through the air like a madman. My heart ached as I watched Jung Hee-won's eyes became gradually redder. This was dangerous. It was a sign of demon slaying. Pyuk! I stunned Jung Hee-won by strongly hitting her in the back of the neck. Luckily, Jung Hee-won was intact. I thought it wouldn't be like this with Samyongdang's straw mat, but Jung Hee-won's mental state was more fragile than I expected. Yo Sanga, please look after Jung Hee-won-sai. Yes. It isn't over yet. You have met the conditions to clear the sub-scenario. You have earned 300 coins. Monsters appeared as soon as the clear message showed up. They were a mass of liquid, reminiscent of ectoplasm. The 8th grade spectre. It was the spectres who made welcome prison. I used white pure star energy to invoke Blade of Faith. Sukakak. Fortunately, the battle itself wasn't difficult. In the first place, the specters weren't difficult if Welcome Prison was destroyed. The creepy and weird specters were destroyed. Specter's Stone. I put the fallen stones into my pocket. This needed to be picked up. Thanks to Yo Sanga, the others were recovering quickly. Hey, are you okay? The one who recovered the fastest was Lee Hyun-sung. Lee Hyun-sung heard the story and bowed his head with surprise. Thank you. I almost got into big trouble. I also want to thank Dr. Sai. It is nothing. I have a headache. Lee Gilyoung's head was pounding. I stroked Lee Gilyoung's hair. He pretended to be okay, but perhaps the one with the most terrible trauma in this place was this child. I saw a pale light in the distance. Yo Sanga said, Dr. Sai, I think it is over. I worried about it for a short moment. Jung Hee-won was stunned and it was difficult for others to exercise their power. Would we be okay to enter Chungmuro at this rate? But my concerns were resolved by another person. A blade loomed in the darkness. But it was a pure threat, without the intent to harm. Who are you? Don't you know that this area is our hunting ground? In the faint light of the entrance, a girl holding a long sword stood. She looked to be 17 and was wearing a school uniform. She was wearing a hood like she was trying to hide her name tag, but her appearance was noticeable. Ah, this girl. Yo Sanga had keen eyes and recognized her first. I also knew her. It was because she was one of the main characters of Ways of Survival. The only survivor of Daepong Girls' High School, Lee Ji-hai. She was one of the reasons why Yo Jong-hyuk went straight to Chungmuro in the shortest time. Did you guys beat the specters? Lee Ji-hai discovered the stone in my hand and was surprised. How did you? Only Master can catch them. I immediately used a skill. The exclusive skill, character list, is activated. Character information. Name, Lee Ji-hai. Age, 17 years old. Constellation sponsor, Maritime War God. Private attribute, Scarred Sword Demon, rare. Exclusive skills, Sword Training LV3, Demon Slaying LV1, Absolute Sense LV2, Ghost Walk LV1. Stigma, Sea Battle LV1, Large Army Command LV1. Overall stats, Stamina LV13, Strength LV12, Agility LV13, Magic Power LV9. Overall evaluation, a person who evolved into a Scarred Sword Demon after killing her closest friend. The sponsor behind her has an affinity for you and your colleagues. Starter pack is currently applied. There was nothing unusual. Maritime War God. As scheduled, it was the sponsor behind Lee Ji-hai. She was a must in future maritime wars. The constellation Bald General of Justice is touched at meeting an old comrade. Lee Ji-hai's sponsor welcomes the Bald General of Justice. I felt a faint breeze in the subway tunnel where no trains were running. Looking at Lee Ji-hai's hair fluttering in the wind, I realized again. Main scenario number 2, meeting has ended. The compensation will be settled. Yes, we finally arrived. This was Chungmuro. Chapter 27. Episode 7, Landlord, 1. We followed Lee Ji-hai and entered Chungmuro. Yo Sanga saw the shattered screen door of the platform and said, "It is a chaotic atmosphere." As they climbed up from the tracks of Railway Line 3, they saw some people sitting down. You have entered Chungmuro. The third scenario is currently in progress. #GIR 8761 channel is active. #BIR 3642 channel is active. From Chungmuro onwards, the size of the scenario grew and the Dokkibi channels increased. From now on, that naive Bi-hyung would have a hard time. Some middle-aged people saw us and waved their hands. Oh, little samurai. You brought new people? Yes. A samurai. I guess Lee Ji-hai could be called that if the sponsor behind her wasn't known. Sooner or later, they would be punished. Lee Ji-hai frowned at the middle-aged people. Are you drunk again? Ha ha ha. What is there to do other than drink when the world has become like this? The middle-aged people seemed relaxed, unlike those who were experiencing a disaster. It was natural since they were wearing the uniform of soldiers. It was definitely different from Gumho Station. Now was the true beginning. But did your friends come through the tunnel? How great, won't they have a lot of coins? Then one of the middle-aged men turned to Yosanga. Young lady over there, what is your name? Would you like to rent a room for cheap? Room? Haha, you don't know the system here yet? This place. Li Jihai cut off the middle-aged man's words. Adjuches. Don't try to trick the newcomers. Ooh, they must know anyway. This is what everyone is doing to live. If you don't want to be injured, then get lost. The middle-aged man paled at Li Jihai's words. This, young children have already learned something bad to eat. Hey, Kangsai. Stop it. The middle-aged people turned away. They disappeared into Transit Line 4 and Li Jihai put away her sword. I brought you here, so take care from now on. I'm not a babysitter. This child was speaking so indifferently. I looked around. Chungnuro. This was the stage of the third scenario, where completely different rules were in play. Shit. I'll kill you if you come close. A man was in the middle of the platform for subway line 3, waving a knife around and threatening people. At this feet was a tile that was 1 pyong, 3.306 square meters, in size, emitting a green light that stretched into the air. Yosanga asked, why is he doing that? I don't know. I could guess, but there was no need to scare her just now. There were many people sitting down with a knife on subway line 3. Unlike the previous middle-aged men, their faces were filled with despair. I glanced at them and asked Li Jihai, is Yo Jonghyuk here? Li Jihai, who was about to leave, turned her head at Yo Jonghyuk. There was vigilance in her eyes. Who are you? Yo Jonghyuk had already ruined this child. Well, I could understand. It was difficult to find a constellation on the level of maritime war god, even if he searched through all of South Korea. If I was in Yo Jonghyuk's position, I would have found her soon after coming to Chungnuro. I am a companion of Yo Jonghyuk who came back alive. Companion? How is that possible? Li Jihai stared at me with suspicious eyes. I shrugged shamelessly. That guy will understand if you tell him. Where is Yo Jonghyuk now? Master isn't here right now. Really? This is difficult. I have something I need to say. Li Jihai's expression distorted as she stared at me with something like betrayal. I knew very well what she thought of Yo Jonghyuk. Moreover, it was already master, it will be difficult to gain her this way. Li Jihai called out to a boy squatting in the corner. Hey, over there. Eh? Yes, yes. Watch over these people right here. I'm going to find master. The boy looked at us with puzzled eyes. Who are they? I don't know. Master's friends? At Li Jihai's words, the eyes of the people on the platform became bigger. They looked at us with amazement and awe. Yo Jonghyuk-sai's friends? The boy ran up to us and exclaimed. It was a boy who looked roughly around Li Jihai's age. Are you really Yo Jonghyuk-sai's friends? I couldn't lie when I saw the boy's clear eyes. At least, if I was an ordinary person. He is a good friend. Recently, I didn't seem to be an ordinary person. At least, it was the case here. While taking care of the unconscious Jung Hee-won, I heard about Chungnuro from the boy. Along with Li Jihai, this boy was one of Yo Jonghyuk's followers. Thus, we followed Yo Jonghyuk-sai. Are you listening to me? Yes. Of course, I wasn't listening properly. The story of psychopath Yo Jonghyuk's heroism wasn't interesting. The short summary was something like this. 3 days ago, Yo Jonghyuk appeared and saved some of you, including Li Jihai, from the monsters. Isn't that the story? The boy frowned at his story be summarized so simply. The story isn't that simple. He was surely spellbound by Yo Jonghyuk. Suddenly, a presence with overwhelming force rescued them. It would be strange if they didn't follow him. But the boy didn't know. The boy survived not because Yo Jong-hyuk was a good guy, but because the boy was luckily with Lee Ji-hai. Now can I ask you a few things I am curious about? Lee Hyun-sung started asking politely while I was locked in my thoughts. Yes. Just ask. How is the food supply here? That, it is a bit embarrassing to say, some people, including me, are dependent on Ji-hai. Ji-hai hunts and asks Yo Jong-hyuk to cook. It was unknown when he made a checklist, but Lee Hyun-sung took out his notes and started to write something. He really was a soldier. Then how is your drinking water? We give food or coins to the Landlord Alliance upstairs in exchange. Landlord Alliance. I sat straight up. Now the story was becoming interesting. The boy hesitantly opened his mouth. They are the landlords in charge of the Chungmuro area. They occupy the upper floors and we call them the Landlord Alliance. Chungmuro's Landlord Alliance. It was a name that appeared in Ways of Survival. What type of people are they? Well, what should I say? In fact, there was no need for me to ask. Perhaps, according to my expectations, one of the 10 evils was in Chungmuro right now. They are just landlords. This answer was the correct answer in a sense. They were landlords. Building owners who received fixed taxes. At this moment, the quiet Lee Gil-young opened his mouth. Excuse me, Hyung. Yes. I want to go to the toilet. Is it urgent? Yes. The timing was a bit unexpected. It was even more puzzling because Lee Gil-young normally didn't say something like this. Then I noticed that Lee Gil-young was standing next to a blushing Yo Sang-ga. Excuse me, can I also go with you? At the moment, the image of Yo Sang-ga and Jung Hee-won securing secret necessities at Yaksu Station came to mind. I thought I knew what was going on. That kid Lee Gil-young, he quickly noticed it first. The boy overheard the conversation and said, You need to go up to the second underground floor for the toilet, but it won't be easy to enter. Has something happened? Yes. I think it is better to see directly. I'm going up to, would you like to go with me? Let's go. I was the one who said it. Of course, it wasn't to go to the bathroom. I had to go up and check a few things. Recently, Yo Jong-hyuk's movements were different from the third regression that I knew. If so, I needed to be clear about the gap. I went up to the third underground level with my friends, carrying Jung Hee-won who was still unconscious. Oh, I heard that there were new faces. Have you come to see the rooms? A middle-aged man standing near the escalator for line 4 whistled. The boy shook his head and replied, I'm sorry. We are going upstairs. Too bad. Be careful. The middle-aged man waved his hands without hesitation. Yo Sang-ga watched the middle-aged man moving away and asked, That, by the way, what exactly is the room? I don't think it is the rooms that I know. It is easy. The boy pointed to a square tile. The tiles were also present on the platform of line 3. Green tiles that were 1 pyeong in size. Looking at the details, I saw something written in the air above the tile. Green Zone 01. The scenario name is Green Zone, and these tiles are called rooms. Near the tile, 2 men were fighting each other. They were fighting over the tile. It was Lee Hyun-sung who asked this time. What is that? Why are those people fighting over it? The boy looked a bit reluctant. It was like talking to us would be a threat to his survival. You will know once you arrive at the second underground floor. As we climbed up to the higher floors, there were more fights over rooms. The room numbers were different. There were small rooms labeled 01 and large rooms labeled 07. The latter number was probably the capacity of the room. I looked around carefully and asked, The third underground floor to the first underground floor is all the area of the Landlord Association? Yes. There are small forces, but the Landlord Association has obtained most of it. All the infrastructure of Chungmuro was located on the second and first underground floors, yet a single alliance occupied all of it. Yo Jong-hyuk didn't take any action? Didn't he save you? That. The boy's face became noticeably darker at my question. The boy looked sullen for a while before barely being able to speak. He told us to stand on our own. I knew. Of course Yo Jong-hyuk would say something like this. Perhaps Yo Jong-hyuk never told them to follow him. They were fascinated by the overwhelming force that Yo Jong-hyuk showed and had hopeful dreams. How pitiful. Not long after, we arrived at the second underground floor. There was tension on the boy's face. We have to be careful from here onwards. There were much more rooms on B2 than the lower levels. The group of people fighting couldn't be seen. Instead, people were guarding the green zones with scary eyes. Green zone 7/7. We passed by the people and headed towards the bathrooms. Why stop here? Our pace stopped as we approached the last passage to the bathroom. Like a bottleneck, dozens of people were gathered in the passage. Let's go forward. I spoke while pushing people out of the way. Pildusai. Please accept it. I won't do it again. Please, please. Please let me stay one more day. I'll go into debt to get the coins. The leader at the head of the line was facing the heated-up people. Now, back off. Back off. On the opposite side, people who seemed to be from the Landlord Association were gathered. I could instinctively feel it. One of the 10 evils was here. I tried to find the 10 evils member through the novel's description, but it wasn't easy since all of them seemed to fit. Did their impressions become similar after becoming landlords? I was shaking my head when someone grabbed my leg. It was Lee Gil-young. I sensed something danger and was about to grab his shoulder when someone pushed Lee Gil-young. Lee Gil-young lost his balance and fell down. The character Lee Gil-young has invaded private property. Suddenly, the atmosphere became cold and some of the Landlord Association members in the front looked at Lee Gil-young. What is this child? At almost the same time, the crowd of people screamed and withdrew. Crazy! Be back! Quickly! As if they were never there, the crowd of people rushed back like the tide. The people disappeared and red lines shone where they used to be standing. One man looked between the boundary and Lee Gil-young in turn. You seem to be lost. Do you know where this is? The way to the bathroom. The bathroom? Haha, at one time. By the way, that kid, where are your parents? Hey! Didn't you learn that you shouldn't intrude on other people's land? Other people's land. Oh, it must be true. The man stroked Lee Gil-young's head with an unknown look. You don't know. From now on, I will teach you. The character Gong Pildu has activated Armed Zone LV-3. There was a whirring sound and mini turrets resembling Gatling guns rose from the ground. The character Gong Pildu demands 500 coins for invading his private land. If you don't follow the recommendations, all nearby turrets will fire immediately. The man spoke. Give me money. The loaded turrets were all aiming at the same point. The confused Lee Gil-young stood up and moved to my side. The man saw me and laughed. You are his guardian. Then shouldn't the guardian pay 500 coins instead? I smiled at the hand that the man brazenly stretched out. How funny, Yo Jong-hyuk. You let these jerks go? Chapter 28. Episode 7, Landlord, 2. The 10 Evils. The list and rankings were often changed according to Yo Jong-hyuk's regression cycle, but they were the 10 people in charge of being the main villains in this world of ways of survival. Chungmuro's armed fortress master, Gong Pildu, was one of the 10 evils. Thus, a person wouldn't be aware of Gong Pildu unless they read to the end of Ways of Survival, like me. Green Zone 56/70. Indeed, the size of his room was different. The size of the room couldn't be easily measured. This whole green zone was Gong Pildu's area. Let's do the standard procedure. I hid Lee Gil-young behind me and opened my mouth. Why should we pay you coins? Chungmuro Station is a public place. Haha, it was until 8 days ago. But not anymore. For ordinary humans, 500 coins wasn't a small sum. But giving 500 coins just for stepping on his land, what a crook. Okay, I'll give it. But I'll give it to you directly. What? You aren't Gong Pildu. Gong Pildu might be a villain, but right now, the person in front of me was just extra one of the Landlord Alliance. Where are you, Gong Pildu? I quickly looked around. Not him, not him. I wondered where Gong Pildu was. Haha, you are a funny guy. Hey, playing with me now. Gong Pildu-sai. Where are you? Take the fine. I ignored them and kept walking. You have invaded private property. The turrets aimed straight at me, but I didn't stop. Honestly, there was no guarantee that I would be safe if the turrets started shooting. But there was a need to show off my combat power here. That way Gong Pildu wouldn't underestimate me. It is up to here. I will give you if you come closer. Finally, Gong Pildu moved. A bench covered with various supplies. A middle-aged man sitting on top of it and reading a magazine was staring at me. Indeed, this was how he was described in the novel. His belly was half revealed and I could see the hair on it. This was Gong Pildu, the representative of the Landlord Alliance. This is a face I've never seen before, but you are great. Isn't it unfair that I need to pay to see you? The character Gong Pildu is interested in you. In any case, I seem to be the type that was popular with the bad guys. It was the same with Kim Namwoon. You are fairly good at talking. But it isn't good to be too cocky. Tadak. I heard magic bullets being loaded in the turrets. Damn bastard. Gong Pildu smiled like an ordinary neighborhood ajusi. But I knew. Gong Pildu could never be an ordinary neighborhood ajusi. The exclusive skill, character list is activated. Character information. Name, Gong Pildu. Age, 48 years old. Constellation sponsor, Defense Master. Private attribute, Landlord, rare. Great landowner, rare. Exclusive skills, Private property LV3, Patience LV1, Profit calculation LV2, Leadership LV2, Insight LV1, Weapons training LV1. Stigma, Armed Zone LV3. Overall stats, Stamina LV9, Strength LV11, Agility LV10, Magic Power LV19. Overall evaluation, Gong Pildu, the representative of the Chungmuro Landlord Alliance. His skill Private Property and Stigma Armed Zone has the best effect in a battle against many. It is advisable not to make him an enemy. Starter Pack is currently applied. A growth package is currently applied. There were numerous gaps in this world, but few of them were as stable as a landowner of Landlord. However, there were those who posted both characteristics, and the Armed Fortress Master Gong Pildu in front of him was one of them. I realized it when I saw this explanation. His magic power was already at level 19. Indeed, this would be enough for him to be one of the 10 evils in the future. By the way, what did you come here for? I don't think your goal is paying the fine. He was also very sensitive. I pondered over it for a while. Should I negotiate here or overpower Gong Pildu? It might be possible if I used all my power, but it wasn't easy to break through Gong Pildu's arm zone. I needed to prepare for a big injury if I wanted to defeat the turrets. What should I do? There was a separate place where I had to use coins, so it was impossible to increase my stats. I'm warning you that you shouldn't think of anything. Gong Pildu smiled at me. His troops were surrounding Lee Hyun-sung. He really moved quickly. I laughed and raised both hands. Please calm down. Isn't it obvious for a tenant to come to the landlord? Is it for a room? Yes. Please let my companions and I sat in your green zone. This was a must. In order to clear the third scenario safely, we had to say in Gong Pildu's green zone. However, Gong Pildu's answer was as expected. No. The Alliance doesn't accept outsiders. I'll think about it if every person pays 500 coins a day. 500 coins a day? It was like selling coins. It was more than the dokkibi bag. It is a bit tough, so I will give you information instead. What information? Information about Yo Jong-hyuk. Yo Jong-hyuk. The complexion of the landlords changed with one name. Yo Jong-hyuk? Yo Jong-hyuk caused such an uproar not long ago. You bastard. What is your relationship with that guy? Pildusai. Isn't this bastard suspicious? There was a reaction. I thought that Yo Jong-hyuk would have already caused a problem with the landlord alliance. In fact, this point I was a bit unsure about. According to the original story, Yo Jong-hyuk of the third regression should be fighting against the landlord alliance by now. What was he doing? Gong Pildu stared at me with suspicious eyes. What is your relationship with Yo Jong-hyuk? We are companions separated by life and death. I don't think it is like that. Anyway, we are friendly. How can I believe that? Don't believe me. Don't you have nothing to lose? I threw out the bait. Perhaps Gong Pildu would have to accept my suggestion. It was because right now, Yo Jong-hyuk was the only person who could threaten the power balance in Chungnuro. The character Gong Pildu has activated Profit Calculation LV2. Why won't I receive any loss? There is no guarantee that you aren't a scammer. I can't ignore my years of experience. In my experience, people like you run away to avoid paying the rent at the end of the month. It was so accurate that I felt wronged. However, it was difficult to push it here. If you don't believe me, it can't be helped. Maybe there will be damages. Gong Pildu's expression became complicated. I turned around without hesitation. It was important not to show any regret. That way, he would regret it even more. Wait a minute. Indeed. You have to pay the fine for intruding. Where are you trying to flee? It was another regret. Damn it. I turned around and smiled awkwardly. How much? 100 coins. No, you and that kid are 1,000 coins. The vein on my head bulged. Did this bastard think that 1,000 coins was 1,001? That is too much. The dokkibi still hadn't given me the cut of the coins, but I couldn't give 1,000 coins to a jerk like Gong Pildu. Gong Pildu grinned. Then you are disqualified as tenants. Die. I instinctively pushed through the men around me and ran to where my party members were. Kwang! There was the first firing sound and Lee Hyun-sung held up a metal shield, blocking my back. He was really reliable. Dok Jasai. Lee Hyun-sung's strength and stamina were level 14, but he spoke very nervously. I could clearly see his trembling arm muscles. Lee Hyun-sung hadn't obtained his second stigma yet, meaning he couldn't hold on against the turrets. Moreover, there was no Jung Hee-won. If I started a head-to-head fight, someone in this party would surely die. Gong Pildusai, wait a moment. If we fight, then you won't escape any damages. What? It is better not to fight us now. Why? The damage had to be shown. If we fight now, you will die here. Gong Pildu's expression hardened. Even if I didn't add anything, Gong Pildu would have noticed. The presence of the guy coming down the escalator from B1. It would be strange if he didn't know when the guy was giving off such a huge momentum. My best companion is coming. Yo Jong-hyuk. I didn't expect that damn regressor to be happy. Master, it is that person. He pretended to be Master's companion. Lee Ji-hai cried out shrilly as she pointed to me. The main character, the lone hero of a drama, was walking by her side. He looked at me with impressively fierce eyes. The character Yo Jong-hyuk is greatly disturbed. Exclusive skill, Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint Stage 2 has been activated. There was a brief moment of dizziness and I started to hear his thoughts. How, already? I waved to him and said casually. Hi Jong-hyuk. Times. Have you been well? Your face looks good. Times. Lee Ji-hai and Gong Pildu looked between us like they couldn't believe it. They never thought I would be a companion of Yo Jong-hyuk. There was a tight tension in the air. These people don't believe I am your companion. Can you tell them? But I knew Yo Jong-hyuk. This bastard killed easily, but he kept his promises. A few constellations are paying attention to character Yo Jong-hyuk's answer. The constellation demon-like Judge of Fire is observing the loyalty of Yo Jong-hyuk. Moreover, the constellations were paying a lot of attention. Times. Yo Jong-hyuk watched me and slowly opened his mouth. However, my words were faster. Right, it would be better if you let me use the bathroom. Finally, Yo Jong-hyuk pulled out a blade. After a while, we safely used the bathroom and came down to the platform of line 3. It was thanks to the fellow regressor companion. I smiled widely. It's nice to see you, you rascal. You are alive. In conclusion, Yo Jong-hyuk didn't call me his companion. He just pointed his blade at Gong Pildu as his answer. Fortunately, Gong Pildu didn't want to clash with us and let us go. Were you hoping I would be killed? I thought it would be good. This rotten companion. I became angrier when I saw that cheeky face. I wanted to run over and strike him in the jaw, but I couldn't. The exclusive skill, Character List, is activated. There is too much information about this person. Character List is converted to Summary List. Full version. Converting the character information of Yo Jong-hyuk into the full version. Character List. Name, Yo Jong-hyuk. Age, 28 years old. Constellation Sponsor. Private Attribute, Regressor, Third Turn, Myth, Pro Gamer, Rare. Exclusive Skills, Sage's Eyes LV8, Hand-to-Hand Combat LV8, Advanced Weapons Training LV5, Strong Self-Defense LV5, Mental Barrier LV5, Crowd Control LV5, Reasoning LV5, Lie Detection LV4, omitted. Stigma, Regression LV3. Overall Stats, Stamina LV24, Strength LV24, Agility LV25, Magic Power LV23. Comprehensive Evaluation. The comprehensive evaluation of this person is too long to load. It didn't seem that great in the novel. But now that I saw it myself, I knew how extraordinary it was. We were about to enter the third scenario and his physical body stats were just over 70. This crazy bastard. Damn it, this was the main character buff. Do you have anything to say? Yo Jong-hyuk's growth rate was steeper than it was in the original 3 regression. The fact that his growth was so fast meant he was taking great risks. What the hell was the person who only returned 3 times doing? Something was making me uneasy. I would have to dig it out sooner or later. I asked if you had anything to say. No, I was just looking. He is more tenacious than I thought. What tenacity? He had a serious Chuyuni disease. However, being cheeky isn't good. Should I just kill him now? I'm joking. I hurriedly laughed. Yo Jong-hyuk turned his head like he wasn't interested. The constellation Prisoner of the Golden Headband is disappointed in you. Anyway, I didn't want to alienate Yo Jong-hyuk right now. In order to clear the multiple scenarios, Yo Jong-hyuk was a necessary person. Even if we weren't real companions, it was worth using him thoroughly. Why did it sound like I was making excuses? It looks like you've obtained companions. Yo Jong-hyuk looked at the people behind me with emotionless eyes. The character Yo Jong-hyuk is a bit disappointed in you. What? Why? The answer became clear. The character Yo Jong-hyuk has used Sage's Eyes LV8. He picked up Lee Hyun-sung but was only to raise him to this level. I was at a loss for a moment because it was true. Certainly, Lee Hyun-sung's growth would be better if he had moved with Yo Jong-hyuk. Still, this bastard. I was just an ordinary reader who luckily got to know the future. It is below expectations. It seemed worse because I was hearing the words in my mind. At that moment, Yo Jong-hyuk's eyes stopped as he was looking around. For the first time, confusion could be seen in his eyes. What is that? Chapter 29, Episode 7, Landlord, 3. Episode 7, Landlord, 3. Yo Jong-hyuk was looking at everyone except for Lee Hyun-sung. The 3 remaining people were standing together and I couldn't figure out exactly who Yo Jong-hyuk was looking at. How is this possible? Who was he looking at? I wanted to ask but I was afraid that my skill would be exposed. Yo Jong-hyuk still didn't know that I knew him. However, I guessed that he might have seen the information of Jung Hee-won. Jung Hee-won saw Yo Jong-hyuk's gaze and confronted him. What are you looking at? Times. Good job, Jung Hee-won. Kill. Yo Jong-hyuk. I quickly opened my mouth. I was wondering about one thing. He turned to look at me. His eyes were questioning. Why are you leaving Gong Pildu alone? If you are a prophet, you should know. I don't know everything. To be exact, I didn't remember everything. The character Yo Jong-hyuk has used the lie detection skill. The character Yo Jong-hyuk has confirmed that your words are true. He was thorough. Indeed, I see. A prophet whose level of future sight is low. Think what you want. Yo Jong-hyuk continued speaking. I need Gong Pildu alive. Is it because of a future scenario? Yo Jong-hyuk didn't answer. It was like he was trying to gauge the information I knew. I know that you need Gong Pildu for future scenarios. But you only need Gong Pildu. You don't need the entire group that follows him. Times. Isn't it your style to remove what you don't need? Why are you just leaving them? How annoying. What? I have a lot to do. Yo Jong-hyuk stared at me quietly and said, you will never understand. Wait. That isn't the problem. If you don't move now, most of the humans in Chungmuro will. Yo Jong-hyuk's eyes were cold. It doesn't matter. I wasn't a humanist. I didn't believe that everyone in this world was worth living. The thing that was making me angry right now was Yo Jong-hyuk. Yo Jong-hyuk. Can I hit you? If you have confidence. I angrily formed a fist as I heard a message. The character Yo Jong-hyuk has used strong self-defense LV5. I dropped my fist. Cowardly bastard. Are you finished? Let's go. Lee Ji-hae flinched at Yo Jong-hyuk's call. Lee Ji-hae, who belated followed Yo Jong-hyuk, looked at me with confused eyes. The constellation Bald General of Justice is impressed by your chivalrous spirit. 100 coins have been sponsored. Of course, it was completely misleading. There are 1 hour and 30 minutes before the third scenario is activated. There wasn't much time left and my mind was complicated. The constellation Bald General of Justice is angry that people's lives must be risked. The constellation Bald General of Justice wants an uprising. Samyongdang spoke loudly in my head but I couldn't think of a good way. The third scenario lasted exactly 1 week. Maybe Yo Jong-hyuk was planning to gain some other advantage during the duration of the third scenario. Of course, I couldn't let it go. I couldn't let it go. The constellation Prisoner of the Golden Headband is wondering what you are thinking. That jerk Yo Jong-hyuk. The constellation Prisoner of the Golden Headband is satisfied. 100 coins have been sponsored. In fact, the problem in front of me wasn't Yo Jong-hyuk but Gong Pildu. In order to break through the third scenario, Gong Pildu's help was absolutely necessary. But if I couldn't get his help? Suddenly, Jung Hee-won looked up and smiled. Who is it? Hey! You know, that person. The one you were talking to Yo Jong-hyuk about. I immediately explained about Gong Pildu. Jung Hee-won was unconscious so she hadn't been able to see Gong Pildu. I didn't mean to change the subject. Jung Hee-won immediately reacted. What are these scum? Taking the public facilities and making people pay to use them. The scum are upstairs. I'll go and throw them out. Jung Hee-won picked up the ground rat blade. That reminded me, I should change their weapons. There was a lot to be done. It is absurd. We can win if we join forces. Don't you remember Gumho Station? Jung Hee-won's expression was confident. It was natural. Jung Hee-won had the judgment time skill as a trump card. She had good senses and was quick to adapt, so she would have already figured out her attribute and skills. Don't dawdle. Let's go and kill them. As long as her opponents were wicked, her judgment time boasted the highest power. The character Jung Hee-won has activated the exclusive skill Judgment Time. The constellations of the Absolute Good system are silent at Jung Hee-won's request. The skill has been cancelled. Jung Hee-won's face filled with confusion. No, what? Is it broken? Jung Hee-won tried to activate the skill again. However, the skill wasn't triggered. No, why isn't it activated? Aren't they obviously wicked? I laughed at Jung Hee-won's question. That is what we humans think. What are you talking about? The constellations might be different. There is no guarantee that the good and evil they know is like what we know. Justice is always decided by the majority. Right now, the majority of constellations have decided that they are good. Humans no longer had the right to decide on justice. Humans were just the puppets of their sponsors. I looked at the party members. Everyone didn't say anything, but they thought in a similar way to Jung Hee-won. Lee Hyun-sung wiped the iron shield that was scratched by the magic bullets, while Yo Sang-ga and Lee Gil-young sat next to each other on the ground, looking at cockroaches. This sense of despair, I could understand. They thought they understood after getting rid of the gang at Gumho Station. However, there was an incomparable monster just 3 stations away. It was time to start the torture of hope. That doesn't mean there is no way. Hey! It might be difficult, but there is a way to defeat them. They simultaneously looked at me. Lee Hyun-sung asked, "Do you really have a way?" "What is it?" I looked around and lowered my voice. "Get Gong Pildu out of the arm zone." "What is the arm zone?" "His stigma. It is optimized to defend an area." Armed zone. The reason why it was difficult to go against Gong Pildu was this stigma. It was a fraudulent ability that could build turrets in an area. Right now, it was just armed zone. Once the stigma evolved in the future, it would become armed fortress and a siege needed to be prepared to catch him. But Gong Pildu had an obvious weakness. His armed zone will be released as soon as he leaves his designated area. His mini-turrets will also become useless. Usually, there are many restrictions on such a wide defense skill. At the same time, Lee Hyun-sung and Jung Hee-won looked at me with admiration. I see. You figured this out after seeing it once? Is this Dr. Jisai's attribute? The same thing was repeated, but I saw that the people had adapted to me to some extent. Yo Sang-ga asked, "But how will you make him move?" "We have to think about that for now." I hate thinking." Jung Hee-won complained. Then everyone was silent for a while. It was Lee Hyun-sung who gave his idea first. Attack when he goes to the bathroom. Didn't you see the things next to the bench? Gong Pildu never moved out of his armed zone. His bench had everything he needed. There was a sleeping bag, blanket, food, basic with water to eat and sleep, and even a place to piss. Of course, the tenants provided him with them. Crazy. He is a complete shut-in. No, is he not moving because he is hiding something good on the land? It is the biggest room in Chungneuro. Room. That reminds me, Jung Hee-won still didn't know about the rooms. But there was no need for me to explain. There is 1 hour before the 3rd scenario is activated. She would soon find out. We also need to find a room. The moment our party got up, the people around us flinched. "Don't come closer." In particularly, the man with a knife who was protecting a single-person room on the number 3 line platform showed high vigilance. However, other people rushed towards him before we could approach. "Get out, you fucker!" They attacked indiscriminately. As soon as the man was pushed out, the mark of the green zone changed. The owner had changed. Green Zone 1-Green Zone 01. The people were engaging in a bloody fight over the room. Someone was stabbed in the thigh while someone had their nose broken. Jung Hee-won frowned. Shouldn't we stop that? Even if we intervene, the result will be the same. In the end, somebody will die. Why does someone have to die? It isn't possible to avoid in this scenario. I had just finished speaking while Bi-hyung emerged in the air. Now no, shall we start the third day of the main scenario? New faces have arrived today, so won't it be fun? Ha ha ha. Bi-hyung glanced my way. There were 3 dokibis in charge of the Chungnyeoro scenario. It seemed that Bi-hyung was temporarily the representative. It was a natural consequence of being the smallest of the 3 channels. Then the third scenario arrived in front of us. Main scenario number 3, Green Zone, Day 3. Category, Main. Difficulty, C. Clear conditions. Occupy the green zone in the station and survive the monsters that emerge every night at midnight. This scenario will last 7 days. Duration, 8 hours. Compensation, 1,000 coins. Failure. Lee Hyun-sung's eyes widened. This. It is simple. Occupy the green zone before other people. Of course, you can take away the green zone of others. By the way, you should hurry. If you don't have a green zone after the scenario starts, you will have a terrible experience. Haha, then everyone should try it. People's expressions hardened as they heard Bi-hyung's words. In the meantime, the screams of the people continued. Pyuk! 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 Die! Die! I'm not doing this because I have a grudge. I must survive. Maybe this was what everyone realized. The struggle in front of us was no longer a story. Yo Sanga asked in a trembling voice. Surely we don't have to fight like these people? We don't need to fight. Just find a room that can accommodate a large number of people. The size of the green zones vary by type. It ranged from fitting only 1 person to fitting 70 people like Gong Pildu's area. Of course, if there are any rooms left. Jung Hee-won opened her mouth at my words. Dr. Sai is really talented at making people uneasy, then let's move right away. Maybe there are some rooms left. It might be faster to split up. Divide the team. Hyun-sung Sai will move with Sanga Sai, while Hyun Sai should take Gil-young. Dr. Sai? I'm fine on my own. I didn't have to say anything else. Everyone trusted me. Lee Gil-young spoke first. Hyung, what if we can't find one? If we can't find a room 20 minutes before the scenario starts, we will gather here again. I understand. Then I'm going. The team scattered in an orderly fashion. Jung Hee-won and Lee Gil-young went to B2 while Yo Sanga and Lee Hyun-sung went to B3. I watched my companions leave before turning on the smartphone. As soon as I opened Ways of Survival, a sentence immediately popped up. There were no rooms left in Chungnyeoro. This fact was written clearly. It was likely that they wouldn't be able to find any rooms. Then they could only choose one way. In order to survive, kill someone else and take their room. But could Lee Hyun-sung and Jung Hee-won do it? Not everyone here was wicked. There were some who exploited others, like Gong Pildu. But in fact, most of them bared their teeth in order to protect themselves. Could Yo Sanga and Lee Gil-young bare their teeth to people like that? I would know the answer very soon. Chapter 30, Episode 7, Landlord, 4. Episode 7, Landlord, 4. After the dokibi disappeared, dozens of casualties appeared on the platform of Line 3. Currently, there was only 1 room on the Line 3 platform. There was no one strong here, so the weak didn't back down and attacked each other. Die! Die! There are 30 minutes before the third scenario is activated. As pandemonium occurred around me, I was quietly reading Ways of Survival. Perhaps today's scenario would flow as I thought. In order to survive, I couldn't miss a single word. What are you doing now? Along with Bi-hyung's words, I could hear the messages of the constellations. The constellation prisoner of the golden headband is wondering what you are doing. I reflexively turned off my smartphone. There was something I hadn't thought of until now. Why didn't the constellations respond when I read Ways of Survival? In the original Ways of Survival, the constellations discovered that Yo Jong-hyuk was a regressor and raised questions about fairness. It was normal for them to say something about the text I was reading. What are you doing right now with a blank notepad? All the constellations are going crazy with frustration because of you. Blank notepad? I turned on the smartphone again. Ways of Destruction appeared on the screen. Is this what you are referring to? Yes. What are you going to do with that notepad? You will die if you stay still. I believed in a guy like this and signed a contract. I got goosebumps. The Dokibi couldn't read this text. If even the Dokibis, which managed the system, couldn't read it, then the constellations were the same. Then the writer who gave me the text, what type of existence was he? Kuek! The last scream rang out. Finally, the owner of the room on platform line 3 was determined. Green Zone 1-1. Don't come any closer. A boy was pointing a knife at me. Surprisingly, the winner was the boy who guided us earlier. I still didn't know his name. Don't worry, I won't take your room. I spoke in order to reassure the boy. The moment I had this thought. Really? You are quite relaxed, Juicy. Do you want to die? I didn't need to look back to see who was talking. It looks like you are quite free. Nobody touches my room. I will send everyone who touches it to hell. Lee Ji-hai twirled a deep blue blade round and round. In regards to specs, there was no one who could match Lee Ji-hai apart from Yo Jong-hyuk or people from the Landlord Alliance. Lee Ji-hai watched me carefully and opened her mouth. I don't want a Juicy to die. You were quite impressive against Master earlier. Don't worry, I won't die. It won't die even if I don't find a room. It was true. I wouldn't necessarily die if I couldn't find a room. There was an impossible man in this station who proved this. It was only 3 days ago. Lee Ji-hai's eyes narrowed. A Juicy, do you know what you are saying right now? Yes. A Juicy, are you strong? As strong as Master? Then Yo Jong-hyuk appeared behind Lee Ji-hai. Stop and go back to your room. Ah? Yup. Master. Lee Ji-hai obediently left and Yo Jong-hyuk turned towards me. Are you going to fight the monsters? I shrugged. You will die. Your 4 companions as well. That remains to be seen. There was an unknown emotion in Yo Jong-hyuk's eyes as he glanced at me and left. I didn't use Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint. It wasn't always possible to expression emotions with words. There are 20 minutes before the third scenario is activated. There was the sound of people coming down the stairs. Lee Hyun-sung, Lee Gil-young and Yo Sanga, looking at their dark expressions, the result was as I expected. Yo Sanga opened her mouth with a gloomy expression. Room, there were none. It is okay. Rather, where is Hyun-sai? She is trying to negotiate upstairs. At these words, Jung Hee-won jumped down with a terrible scream. One night is 2,000 coins? Are they joking right now? I am really going to hit them. The agitated Jung Hee-won snorted and said, Dr. Sai, do you know what is happening upstairs? No. They suddenly raised the taxes, right? You already know? It was predictable. The tenants would die if they couldn't get a room in 20 minutes. It was no wonder that the owners would take the initiative to raise the taxes. Did Dr. Sai find anything? No, I didn't. Ah. I examined their faces one by one. In the end, the time to choose had come. I have 2 ways. The eyes of the party members shone at these words. But my methods would probably betray their expectations. The first way is easy for all of us to live. Jung Hyun's eyes narrowed. Usually it is the second method. What is the other one? The second method is very difficult. It is likely that some of us will die. That can't happen. Then I will choose the first way. What do the others think? Lee Hyun-sung responded first. The first method will be good if everyone can live. Lee Gilyong nodded. Only Yo Sanga hesitated. Can I hear what it is? I nodded and lead them up the stairs to transit line 4. This is the first method. The party members looked at where I pointed. There was a group of 5 men and women shaking. Green zone 5/5. The room they occupy has exactly 5 spaces. But their individual abilities isn't that high. Honestly, if the 5 of us... Wait, Dr. Sai. Yes, kill them and take their room. Their trembling increased at my calm voice. Jung Hee-won made a deeply wounded expression. Who doesn't know about this method? If Young says so, I can do it. Lee Gilyong spoke first. I'm not afraid. I will do it. No, Gilyong. Yo Sanga grabbed Lee Gilyong's shoulder. I deliberately looked uncaring. They would have also killed someone to take that room. Honestly, we can't overcome future scenarios if we can't do this. Dr. Sai. Jung Hee-won interrupted. I killed people at Gumho Station. I killed because I wanted to and I don't regret it. But... Jung Hee-won had a pained expression on her face. Just because I am a murderer doesn't mean I want to keep killing. I don't want to be a monster. Dr. Sai, I would like to know about the second method. I closed my eyes for a moment at Lee Hyun-sung's words. I understand your thoughts. Yes, this was enough. Let's go the second way. The expressions of the party members seemed to brighten. In fact, I was going to use the second method from the beginning. Killing was an easy way to survive, but I could never attract the attention of the constellations if I chose the easy method. However, the second method required considerable determination. It wasn't just me but everyone. Thus, I needed to check their determination. I had to know what these people were really thinking. Jung Hee-won laughed. I thought so. Why are you talking when you were going to go with the second way? I wasn't trying to test you. Whatever choice you made, I would have respected it. I stroked Lee Gilyong's head, who was looking up at me with uneasy eyes. Yo Sanga sighed and opened her mouth. Dr. Sai is really spiteful. I'm sorry I'm not a good person. What is the second method? There is no need to kill anybody with this method. But it is very difficult. At my heavy tone, the expressions of the party members became determined. If you choose the second method, please unconditionally follow my instructions. Please trust me, even if it doesn't make sense. If one person doesn't trust me, we will all die. Someone gulped. The party members nodded almost simultaneously. Lee Hyun-sung said, I believe in Dr. Sai. I have survived up to here because of Dr. Sai. There are 5 minutes before the third scenario is activated. Then follow me. I moved with the party members along railway line 3. We passed through the broken screen door and stood at the entrance of the tunnel leading to Yulgyro 3. Inside the dark tunnel, I saw a glowing red zone. Perhaps the monsters would be created over there. They would sweep over line 3 and go up each floor towards the ground. Lee Hyun-sung asked nervously, Then are we fighting the monsters here? No, we aren't fighting. If we fight here then we will die. It wasn't possible to fight against the terrifying monsters and survive until dawn without the green zone. This time, Jung Hee-won asked, Then will we run towards the Dongdae area? That won't work. Once the scenario is activated, we will automatically die if we leave Chungmuro. Then, this operation needs to be shared. Lee Hyun-sung Sai, Yo Sanga Sai and Jung Hyun Sai. Once the monsters appear, run straight in the direction they are coming from. Hey! Understood? Just run towards them. Just before you encounter them, be sure to look at the left wall. Then you will know that I mean. The people didn't understand my words, but there was no time to explain to them. Just trust me or you will die. Don't forget to look at the left wall. I understand, Dr. Sai. Yo Sanga seemed to understand what I meant and answered first. I am telling you in person. You must run after the monster appears. I picked up a stone and threw it towards the tunnel. Then stone sparked as it hit something and fell. Lee Hyun-sung and Jung Hee-won nodded as if they understood. What about Dr. Sai? I'll find another way with Gil-young. This method couldn't be used unless my party members believed in me. Who would go against common sense and commit a suicide attack by rushing towards the monsters? The only thing left was their determination. The third main scenario is enabled. The barrier that was blocking the tunnel to Yulgyro 3 disappeared. Run! The 3 people started running the moment I called out. Gare! The monsters started to be created in the red zone. It was mainly the grade 9 ground rats. Then the middle ranks were filled with the intermediate grade 9 underground species, the Groll. Ku! A monster with a black menere that was in the shape of a bear. The sharp horns on their foreheads was threatening. One was relatively easy to deal with. The problem was the number. The crowded columns was already not suitable to be called a group. We would die if we hit that wave. The moment Lee Hyun-sung encountered the first Groll, I shouted. Now! Yo Sanga found it first. Green tiles shimmering on the wall. Ah! The enlightenment was instant the moment Yo Sanga's hand touched the wall, it emitted a bright light. Green zone 1/3. The agile Jung Hee-won immediately touched the wall behind her. Green zone 2/3. However, Lee Hyun-sung missed the timing. It was because the ground rats clung to Lee Hyun-sung's shield. Hyun-sung sigh. Catch it! Lee Hyun-sung grabbed the thread that Yo Sanga threw him. Thanks to the strength of the 2 women, Lee Hyun-sung flew through the air and reached the wall. Green zone 3/3. Good. Ja! The monsters stared at them, but once they entered the green zones, the monsters couldn't attack. Dr. Sai! Yo Sanga called out to me, but there was no time to look back. I was already running with Lee Gil-young on my back. In the third main scenario, there are several hidden green zones. This is activated on a specific wall, and the green zones on the wall won't appear until after the scenario starts. If you think about it, humans were the ones who thought of it as the concept of a room. In Ways of Survival, Yo Jong-hyuk went through numerous regressions and found some secret green zones in Chungnyeoro. On the platform of Line 3, there were 2 such green zones. Cute. A few ground rats chasing after me bit me in the thigh. The blow wasn't big because of my high strength, but these small things could accumulate. Quack! Lee Gil-young hit a few ground rats with a blunt weapon from his position on my back. But there were too many of them. In addition, the Groll were fast. A dozen meters away, the boy was looking at me with terrified eyes. Green zone 1/1. It was cowardly, but I was tempted to take the easy road for a second. Ha 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 ha. This situation is fun. Then, like yesterday, should there be a penalty? A Dokibi spoke, followed by the system messages. A scenario penalty has been added. Some existing green zones will be disabled. And no. Uek, ark. Screams rang through Chungnyeoro Station. The closest scream came from the boy. Kwajajijik. Ark. As soon as the green zone disappeared, the boy's small body was shredded by the ground rats. Thanks to the boy's body buying time, I was able to run into the passage. However, the monsters that came from beyond the broken screen door blocked the path. I hid Lee Gil-young behind me and pulled out Unbroken Faith. The blade of white pure star energy quickly pushed back the incoming monsters. But the numbers didn't go down at all. The person who fought with these monsters until sunrise, Yo Jong-hyuk, was a monster. I wasn't sure it was possible for me, even if I changed all my coins to stats. At this moment, Lee Gil-young spoke. Hyung, you know. Don't talk now. I'm busy. You can just leave me here. What? I really don't understand it. Why are you helping me, Hyun-sung Hyung and the Noonas? If you are alone, you would be able to survive better. He could calmly speak such words before his death. Maybe this kid's mind was already dead. Yes, you are right. Another ground rat fell to the ground with its head cut off. It is comfortable to live alone, eat alone and survive alone. But why was I acting this way? If anyone asked me, I couldn't exactly explain. But I could say one thing with certainty. I know one novel that developed in such a way and was ruined. Hey! I thought it every time, but I wasn't a protagonist. I wouldn't be a hero or a savior. But Lee Gil-young's eyes were shaking. I lifted him onto my back again and said, "Hold on tight. I wouldn't let Lee Gil-young die. At least, not today."